Hey guys, it's Dan, your host of Dan's Reviews, and today I'm back for another video for today. This one's going to be doing another versus matchup video. This one is going to be two of my favorite shows. This one's going to be The Walking Dead versus Game of Thrones. Alright guys, this one's going to be doing a review today. This one's going to be doing a review for the Walking Dead universe, and in today's video, we're going to be doing another discussion video. This one is going to be another versus matchup video. This one won the vote this week, which is going over The Walking Dead versus Game of Thrones. Now, this is going to be a very interesting one because these are both two crazy shows. These are two of the most famous shows in the 2010s and even 2020s as well too, I'd argue, because we still have House of the Dragon and we have The Walking Dead spin-offs with The Ones Who Live and Daryl Dixon and Dead City and, you know, some of the other ones as well. So, both are still, I'd say, going relatively strong. Maybe not as strong as they were back in the 2010s, some people could argue, but they're going very, very good, and they're definitely doing, a good job at still keeping up with their franchises and stuff like that. So, this is going to be going over both shows, objectively speaking. Obviously, you guys know what my favorite show is. I don't really think you guys got to ask that question. The Walking Dead is my favorite show, but objectively speaking, right? We're going to take opinions out of this for a little bit, and we're going to talk about objectively. What do we objectively think, Game of Thrones is better than Walking Dead, or Walking Dead is better than Game of Thrones? That's what we're going to go over. So, let's get started with the first category, visuals. Oh man, unfortunately, I'm going to have to tank The Walking Dead immediately on this one. Visually speaking, it's going to go to Game of Thrones. And unfortunately, this is because of the higher budget. Obviously, if you include the Walking Dead spinoffs in there, there's a bit more of competition. But even then, Game of Thrones visually is one of the most beautiful shows I've ever seen. It is absolutely stunning to watch. And honestly, visually speaking, I'm going to give this win to Game of Thrones. Next category is characters. Now, characters is a little bit more different because with characters, I think that Game of Thrones really messed up a lot of their cast in their final season. Jaime Lannister was one of my favorite characters of television, and I feel like they absolutely butchered him. They butchered Cersei's death. Absolutely. I should have mentioned this will contain spoilers for both of these shows, but if you're still watching, I don't know what to tell you. They butchered Daenerys. That was the worst one. They butchered Daenerys, a really good character that they just messed up. Arya is actually a really solid character. I can't really say they ever messed her up. She's really good. Jon Snow is fantastic, but I don't like his conclusion. And Tyrion, to me, just got boring after a few seasons. I liked him in seasons 1 to 4, and then I found that after that, Tyrion got kind of just boring to me. So I think, Game of Thrones kind of struggles with their cast a little bit and their characters. Meanwhile, though they came up with some great characters, I feel like they struggle. Meanwhile, The Walking Dead, I'd say, is still going strong. Rick Grimes is phenomenal. Daryl Dixon, phenomenal. Negan is incredible. And, you got Morgan Jones, okay, maybe some ups and downs. There definitely are some ups and downs with him. But if we're just talking about the original Walking Dead, I can't say they really failed any of their characters, maybe here and there, but not to a point where you're killing your show by, destroying oh no, Daryl's an idiot now, he's ruined. No, I can't ever say they did something like Game of Thrones did. So for that, I'm going to say characters, Walking Dead. Also, I feel like the acting is better, and again, no jab at Game of Thrones, I connect with the actors a lot more on The Walking Dead. They just feel a bit more real to me, and I think that there's a lot more point of view and perspective with them than there is with the characters of Game of Thrones, so that's another reason. Next one is music. Now, I am probably a little bit biased here. I'm sure some people are probably going to say, oh my god, Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones. I disagree. I think Walking Dead is actually better. It has a lot better, music and, songs included. Wye Oak from, Wye Oak Civilian or whatever, and, Serpents, and, some of these other songs that are just phenomenal. I just think Walking Dead does a little bit of a better job with their lyrics and some of their songs. Not to mention the tracks from Bear McQuarrie. Unbelievable. From season 1 to season 11, that guy just got better. I swear to God, with his music, he just got better. And I love his tracks. I love his music. Game of Thrones, great music as well. Nothing really against it. I don't really think there's anything wrong with it. I just think Walking Dead has more seasons of experience with music. They have better songs, tracks, stuff like that. So I'm going to give this one to Walking Dead as well, too. Now, the next one is the story. So, what has a better story? I'm going to make this one quick. Game of Thrones made it all about a throne that characters are trying to get to rule the Seven Kingdoms. And by the end of it, they turn Daenerys into a mad queen and destroy the throne, and Daenerys means nothing, and Jon just gets sent to Castle Black. Meanwhile, The Walking Dead has a guy looking for his family. Immediately, you're hooked because you want to see him, reunite with his family. You have an apocalypse. The show ends up taking us through this 11-season journey of how a broken world can destroy people's minds and destroy what they once were. And you see them evolve through this apocalyptic world over the seasons. And they overcome it, and they overall at the end come out on top. Minus Rick and Michonne that are still out there. They overall come out on top at the end. So, Walking Dead, hands down, is a better story. I'm sorry, not even close. Next one is the acting. Now, I think Game of Thrones has some really great actors. Like the Jon Snow actor, Daenerys actress, she's phenomenal. I love her. Tyrion, love him. He's amazing. And a lot of really great others. But here's the thing, is that I also feel like there's a lot of really cheap acting. I'm probably going to get hate on this, but characters like Hodor, what is the hype behind this guy? Like, what is so damn cool about him? I don't understand. He's cringeworthy to me. And there's a lot of characters like that it's like in Game of Thrones. I'm just like, it doesn't even feel accurate. It doesn't even feel on point at all. Like, it's crazy. Again, most of the acting's good, but there are definitely some performances in Game of Thrones I feel like are a little bit off. Now, I'm not going to say it's any different with The Walking Dead. Walking Dead has also had some where I'm like, what the hell? Like Jocelyn and stuff like that. Like, they've had some rough ones there too. But I also feel like Walking Dead, like actors like Andrew Lincoln and Norman Reedus and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I'm sorry, you can't beat that. You cannot beat that. At least in my opinion, in the acting department, you can't beat that at all. Danai Gurira, I mean, oh my god, no, like, no way in hell, and call me biased, sure, but I just feel like those actors have more charisma and more experience and a lot more stuff to go around. So, I don't know. That's just me. Next one is effects. Now, effects-wise, I'm going to go Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones, with effects and visual effects and, all that stuff, I think in terms of green screens and, stuff like that, behind the scenes work, yeah, Game of Thrones does better, simply because they have a higher budget. If you gave Walking Dead a higher budget, this wouldn't be a problem, but unfortunately, Walking Dead, the original series at least, had a pretty low budget, which is pretty unfortunate, but yeah, that's what I'd say for that one. Now, the next category is action. Now, what handles action better? Okay, well, with this one, I'm going to be honest, I think in a lot of different areas, and I think in a lot of different perspectives, and a lot of different battles and stuff like that, I'm going to hand this one over to Game of Thrones. I will. I'm going to hand this over to Game of Thrones. Action scenes wise, in terms of how, grand in scale they are, I do acknowledge that certain battles in the final couple seasons were a little bit of a letdown, so that could be an effect on the action, but Walking Dead also has had some bad, battles. I'm not going to lie. Like, Season 8... we had some pretty bad battles in there, We had some pretty rough ones here and there. Season 3 finale, where the governor shows up and then runs away 2 seconds later, Walking Dead has had also some bad action here and there. So, I think both shows kind of do suffer, every once in a while, but I think Game of Thrones comes out a little bit more on top with their action, because when their action scenes happen, they're good. For the most part, they're good and they're mind-blowing, So that's what I'll say about that. The next one is the pilot episode. What has a better introductory episode? Now, for me, I think this is an easy win. The Walking Dead Days Gone By, especially it being a perspective type of episode with Rick Grimes looking for his family and meeting Morgan and learning about everything, waking up in a coma, and you're in a zombie apocalypse, and it's real creepy, and it's real, this and that. Whereas with Game of Thrones, it's just like, okay, here are the Seven Kingdoms, here are the kingdoms, and here are the this and that, and we got Jaime Lannister pushing Bran out of the window, and then it starts the Lannister and the Stark conflict, like, it's good and everything. It's a good episode. I think the opening scene's really good, but I don't think it's anything even close to Days Gone By. Not even close. Next one is, now finally, this is a pretty big one. These last two are pretty major. The next category is personal opinions. So let's talk about my opinions real quick. Personal opinions. The Walking Dead built me a channel, so I'm pretty biased on that. I started my YouTube channel back in 2016 theorizing about who I think Negan killed in the lineup, for crying out loud. That's what started this YouTube channel. Game of Thrones came in, and I was like, okay, I'll review some seasons of that, you know, why not? So my relationship with The Walking Dead is very different with my relationship with Game of Thrones. So personal opinions, and in my just personal perspective, I would say Walking Dead destroys Game of Thrones. And I know that's going to be a hot take. I know that's going to be a rough one. I just think they have more seasons of experience. I think they have better characters. I think the characters concluded a lot better. And I think that the overall story and what The Walking Dead's about, it doesn't turn on you like Game of Thrones did. It doesn't piss you off like Game of Thrones did. And so may some people say, like, oh, Walking Dead got too graphic back in the day. It got too graphic after Glenn died. I had to stop watching because I'm a little crybaby. You know, I'm sorry. It's really true. Like, that's when you stop watching? You didn't stop when they were slitting the guy's throats at Terminus? That's when you stop, is Glenn's death? Oh, that crap pisses me off. It's like, my God, you big baby, leave then. Honestly, like, come on. But, oh no though, Game of Thrones Season 5 can kill a freaking kid in 509. A little girl gets burned to death in front of her parents as they watch it go down. But somehow that, you know, you don't stop watching Game of Thrones. Oh my God, you know. And God forbid it's HBO Game of Thrones. Oh my God, you know. Here's the thing about it, man. I like Game of Thrones. I really do. I'm not trying to say I don't. I like the show a lot. Is it overrated? Yeah, damn right it is. It's really overrated, and it pisses me off sometimes because Walking Dead gets such hate and people give it so much crap when Game of Thrones pulls even dumber stuff than Walking Dead has ever pulled, you know? And just watch the final season of Game of Thrones, you will see what I mean, you know? So, I don't know. At least for my personal opinions, I'm going to say Walking Dead is a lot better. That's just me. And the final category is the ending of the shows. Okay, so the ending of both shows. Though The Walking Dead didn't end, I know some people say, you know, it ended on a cliffhanger and stuff like that. Well, they're following up on it. And they're following up on it in a few weeks, you know? And here's the thing, is with Game of Thrones, the ending was so god awful, and I've said this many times before. The ending of Game of Thrones is so bad that if I had known that's where it went, I wouldn't have bothered. And I'm not even just saying that to say that. Now I'm invested in Game of Thrones. Now I watch House of the Dragon and whatever else, you know, they come out with. I enjoy it. I genuinely do. But here's the thing. If I knew that's where the original series would go, I'd be like, I can watch that at some other point or maybe never, you know? I'll watch something else, you know? So it just kind of goes to show you that overall, though The Walking Dead, you know, didn't fully conclude, it gave us a bit of a cliffhanger in the last 5 minutes. I will say this, though, at the same time, everything about the last 5 minutes, you know, not included here, I really like how the final episode ended for The Walking Dead. Everything ended very nicely. It was a very nice conclusion with Ezekiel and Mercer and, you know, the Commonwealth coming out on top, and Judith and Maggie and Negan's final conversation and stuff like that. It was beautiful. It really was. And then you get to, you know, the last 5 minutes, but we're following up on that on The Ones Who Live anyway. So it's like, though I disagree with the cliffhanger, it's not like we're not following up on it, you know. Game of Thrones ended bad, and we're not following up on it. So, you know, while there are rumors about the Jon Snow show, but I really don't care about that. So, anyway, in other words, that's me saying Walking Dead's better. Not only do I think in personal opinions, but I do think objectively, when you look at everything, I think The Walking Dead is a little bit better when it comes to pretty much everything. The only things Game of Thrones takes it out on, I'd say, is like the action pieces, budget, stuff like that, effects. Those are maybe your 3 categories right there. Aside from that, Walking Dead wins, if you ask me. So that's my thoughts on it. Game of Thrones, in my opinion, is not as good as The Walking Dead. Oh boy, I'm probably starting a fire with this video. Post comments down below, give me your thoughts, and all that stuff. So anyway, if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, of course, make sure to click the subscribe button to miss any other videos of The Walking Dead universe and Game of Thrones. Make sure to follow me on Dan's Reviews Official on Instagram, guys. And of course, I'll see you guys very soon for more videos very soon. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and peace out.